JBS's The Jake Ehrenreich Show is brought to you in part by Stephanie and Simon Bergson, the Skolnick Family Charitable Trust, Helene and Barry Lewis, Judy Friedman and Ron Goldstock, in honor of Hyas, Jonathan Fershpan, the memory of Nadia and Milton Bergson, Nira and Ken Abramowitz, Cynthia and Jeffrey Weisenfeld, and by viewers like you.
Live from the Triad Theater in New York City, it's the Jake Ehrenreich Show! Tonight, Jake's guests are award-winning actress and singer Tovah Feldshuh, comedian Sarge, singer-songwriter Dovy, plus a special Catskills Hall of Fame featuring Elaine Grossinger Etess. And now, please welcome your host, direct from Brooklyn, Jake Ehrenreich!
Oh my, what a crazy group. Hello, welcome. My name is Jake Ehrenreich. I began my career as a young musician in the Catskill Mountains. And I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I've had such a great time this season telling you about my life and my family, growing up in Brooklyn and the Catskills, even a bit about my wedding. You know, and my wedding was the biggest thing that had happened to my family since they arrived in this country in 1949. My two older sisters, Joni and Wanda, they developed early Alzheimer's disease like my mom. They never married. So my wedding was a really big deal. Of this Holocaust survivor family with 3 children, 1 was finally getting married. And we had a beautiful weekend up in the Catskills. And it was unusual because we hadn't seen my father all weekend long. And then we finally found out where he was. He was busy writing his speech. When it came time to say it, he simply could not utter a word. Since I am the only other person in the universe who can decipher what he called a handwriting, we wound up there together. I love that photograph. My father wrote a beautiful letter for his speech to Lisa and myself, in which he said that although this was such a joyful occasion and we had a tent full of people, there should be 10 tents full of people, and that Lisa and I were the rightful inheritors of the unfinished lives of those who perished. My father could write, man. We decided to add another inheritor to that list. I don't think my dad minded. This is our son, Joseph the Bear Ehrenreich. He is named for his 2 great uncles who perished in the Shoah, just as I am named for my 2 grandfathers. This is his bris.
I hope you'll be patient with me for bringing up the Holocaust. But there's no way I could tell you anything about my family about the Holocaust. We said, and we were sincere about it, that we don't care if it's a girl or a boy as long as it's a healthy child. In fact, we didn't even know. Jake and Lisa didn't want to know. And again, I say, we were sincere in saying that it doesn't matter. To make that back into serious, I'm very happy that there is a boy to carry the Ehrenreich name.
Believe me, my father did not mean to be funny. Boy, did he love my son. So my son is the only grandchild of this survivor family. He's also the only grandchild on Lisa's side of the family. Yeah, but no pressure. I mean, it's all good. Remember when Dovy was born, my dad came to the hospital and he took him in his arms. He looked at him, he looked at me. He said, "This is a beautiful kid. This is some kid. You are an ugly kid." He loved my son so much. He was amazing. He would sing to him. He was the best babysitter you could ever imagine. Oi is dus a yingele, oi is dus a shein yingele, oi is dus a taya yingele. One night we went to pick up Dovy at my dad's house, and like 9 o'clock at night. Usually he was either sleeping in the living room or my dad was playing with him or something. Now he's not there. I said, "Dad, where's Dovy?" He said, "He's in the other room watching cartoons." I said, "Cartoons? My father didn't have cable television. What kind of cartoons are possibly on at 9 o'clock at night?" So I went in, sure enough, there's my son, he's watching an animated cartoon. I went back to my dad and I said, "Hey Dad, how often do you let Dovy to watch this cartoon?" He says, "All the time." My son spent much of his infancy watching The Simpsons. But it turned out okay. He seems to be pretty okay. He's 21 years old now, my God. He attends the Berklee College of Music. He's a very talented young singer-songwriter. And he took a gap year after high school, went to Israel. He's actually going back to Israel this summer for the 4th time. He's going to be a counselor in a Young Judea program. My son has been supporting Israel for years. A few years ago, I did a fundraiser to raise some money for Israel. It's called the Israeli Emergency Fund. And I invited some of my friends to perform, and we raised a lot of money. But I think my son's performance raised more money than any of my fancy schmancy friends that came to. Would you like to see a little bit of my son's performance? Okay. Yaman, let's have it.
That here tonight is a young rising star that was with us on the cruise. He's actually the winner of the Catskill Mountain Cruise Joke Contest. Please help me give a warm welcome to Dovy Ehrenreich.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I would like to tell you a few jokes. Why did the boy throw butter out the window? Because he wants to see a butterfly. So the man went to the doctor's office and he says, "Doctor, doctor, nobody pays attention to me. Next." Now I'd like to tell you a little song. I have a little laka, I made it out of clay, and when I try to read it, I stumble and says, "Oy vey!"
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my son, singer-songwriter, Dovy Ehrenreich. Oh my God. You want to tell a couple of jokes? No, okay. So Dovy and I would like to sing a song for you. It's called You and I. It's by Arik Einstein, Ani ve'ata. It's a beautiful song. You and I will change the world. And who better to sing it than you and I? Give it a shot. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
אני ואתה, אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה.
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה. יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר, זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה, אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
We got a great show for you tonight. Tovah Feldshuh is here. Sarge is here. Elaine Grossinger, Etess is here. And Dovy is here. We'll be right back.
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה, אז יבואו כבר כולם.
If you care about Israel and are interested in Jewish life today, there's television just right for you. JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with daily news from Israel and analysis by the leading figures on the world Jewish scene. Evenings from the 92nd Street Y, a weekly Jewish film festival, Jewish culture, Jewish studies, and Jewish entertainment, and live Friday night services every week, as well as high holiday and festival services. JBS, television worth watching.
We're back. It's a crazy audience tonight. The song that Dovy and I sang, Ani Ve'ata, was written by Arik Einstein. Singer, songwriter, actor, and screenwriter. He was known as the voice of Israel and is regarded as the greatest, most popular, and the most influential Israeli artist of all time. Notwithstanding his success, Einstein was a humble and modest musician who actively shied away from the limelight. He stopped performing live in the early 1980s, but continued to record, and in 2010 was still the most often played artist on Israeli radio. Arik Einstein passed away in 2013 at age 74. His funeral was attended by tens of thousands of people, including the Prime Minister and the President. A prominent music critic, Yoav Kutner, said, Arik Einstein is more than the greatest Israeli artist of all time. Arik Einstein is the real Israel itself. So I give to you another great Jewish songwriter tonight, this time from Israel, Arik Einstein. And now, please help me welcome our fabulous announcer, Brianne Bergson. We've spent the entire season together, and I've grown to love this person very much.
Thank you very much, Jake.
You look radiant.
Thank you.
Glowing. I love the hair. The 80s are back.
They are. I represent them.
By the way, if you haven't heard Brigel, which is Brianne and Miguel Bergson, her husband, their group, you should check it out on Facebook or wherever you are.
Everywhere.
I am Brigel. We are Brigel.
We are Brigel, B-R-I-G-U-E-L.
Fabulous. And also look for the episode of the Jake Ehrenreich show where they sang. They're really, really great. And would you like to introduce our first guest?
I would love to.
Okay, and I'm going.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Jake's first guest is a constantly in-demand comedian, author, and motivational speaker. He's opened for some of the biggest names in music, including Natalie Cole, Aretha Franklin, Donna Summer, and many others, and entertain our troops in Iraq. His 1998 film, Sarge Behind Bars, features his groundbreaking comedy therapy for people suffering from addiction. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sarge.
Thank you so much, Brianne. Thank you for that warm TV welcome. This show is too Jewish. Nothing like a whole bunch of Jews in a really small room with no air conditioning. What could go wrong? As long as no one's constipated, we're in good shape. I just came from LA where I did a show with a lot of Jews, 1,400 Hasidic rabbis, not a dry cleaner for 5,000 miles. Looked like an entire ballroom of medieval chess pieces. And they were good enough to fly me in from Florida, where I'm from, Florida. 5 flights with a layover in Holland. It was fantastic. Every Chabad kicked in 1 air mile. It was wonderful. That's right, I came from Florida because there wasn't enough chance of dying on the Upper East Side, so I moved to Florida. Florida is the world's largest defensive driving class. I don't know if you've been there. This is where people who have no hearing, no vision, no memory, no feeling in their hands or feet, no ability to turn their head this way or this way, no idea where they're going or who they are, and they're driving 80 miles an hour in reverse. Florida's the only place on the planet where you hear this announcement at the airport. Will the 2 people who can walk on the plane, the 2 people who can get on the plane under their own power, please report to the podium. Also, the 6 Jews faking a limp to get on with the handicapped people. We have 371 wheelchairs. Today we won't be boarding by group number, we'll be boarding by ailment. If you're suffering from any of these things, please report to the podium. Shingles, clay stool, dark urine, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, dry mouth, dry scalp, dry crotch, dry everything, early onset dementia. Please report to the podium. So it's good to see you on this very Jewish show. So I'm doing the thing for the rabbis, and one of them came over to me and he says, "Are you the comedian?" I said, "Yes, I'm the only one not in a fur hockey puck hat." "What was your first clue?" The jokes are funny to me too, ladies and gentlemen. I lived it. He says, "Listen, listen, listen." I said, No, I can hear you. I'm right here. You flew me in. I have wooden shoes and chocolate now. He said, No, come closer. I said, No, I can tell you had herring with onions for lunch. It was wonderful. Maybe an Altoid. He said, "What's an Altoid?" I said, "It's like a hemorrhoid, but mintier." He said, No, come. I said, I'm here. Just tell me what you want. He said, listen. Don't talk about anything political, nothing sexual, nothing about relationships, nothing about manufacturing, nothing about the diamond business, nothing about computers, nothing about the weather, nothing about traffic, nothing about people, movies, television, nothing. So I said, "Well, Rabbi, that doesn't leave much. Why did you hire a comedian?" He says, "We like to laugh." I said, "You should have booked a full-length mirror. You'd be hysterical right now." "So what are you going to do?" I said, "I'll do my Haftorah, and then I'll leave." He says, "You got a Haftorah?" I said, "I'm black and Jewish. We only had half a Torah. The first half I'll do that, and the other half I'll read from Uncle Tom's Cabin." So I'm a black Jew, as I previously referenced. I'm not all the way black. I'm actually beige. My father pulled out. No, so I told you I'm a black Jew, and I should explain it because it's not just some comic gimmick. I'm me here. Do you understand? I'm not hiding behind some shtick. I'm really black and Jewish. My birth mother was an Orthodox Hasidic girl studying to be a doctor in Chicago. Somehow, she became pregnant from a black man. Or the Orthodox story, which was she sat on a bench near a basketball court without panties. So, you know what, Jake? Tell Tovah Feldshuh. Tell her she doesn't have to come down. I got this. Tell her show is 30 blocks south of here. It's called Broadway. You understand? I need this show. You understand? I need this little proscenium.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
My
Thank
friend
you.
Sarge.
Thank you.
You know,
Is this Jewish enough? I'm playing Avinu Malkeinu.
you know, I would love to have Sarge do this for an hour, but then you'd never get a chance to know him for real. And he's a wonderful person. I just finished reading his book. Put up the book here.
Black Boy Chick. It's called Black Boy Chick.
Look at that, Black Boy Chick. And I will tell you, no kidding, if you're looking for a good book to read, my book, A Jew Grows in Brooklyn, is an excellent read.
Much better.
And when you finish that, you can read Black Boy Chick.
Much better than
I actually
Jew
think,
Grows in Brooklyn.
I want you to show a picture of Sarge and his mom.
I haven't had a bris yet. Is there a rabbi here? Are you ready for this? I was adopted and they told me I was white. Got the biggest laugh of the night. That's how thick Jewish people's denial is. Do you understand? We can hold a grudge and be in denial. Just think about this. Purim. Haman's been dead for thousands of years. We still get together to boo him every year. And his plot didn't even succeed. Do you understand? My mother told me I was white, and I thought I was white. Nature, nurture. As it turns out, I'm mixed. But throughout the course of my life, because of political correctness, think about this. When I was born, I was Negro. Then I was colored, like a crayon. This is how political correctness has traced itself. I recently turned 50. Thank you very much. And even more recently, I turned 57. So I was Negro, then I was colored, then they called us mulatto, which is way before Starbucks. But you think about it. I was a mulatto, cappuccino, frappe grande. We were mulatto, then we were African American, then we were Afro American, then we were brown, then there was a lot of Puerto Ricans that came, then we became black, and now, because of political correctness, I'm no longer colored, I'm a person of color, which is much less offensive. So to find out how black and Jewish I really am, I did this thing with technology, 23andMe. Have you done this? I spit in the thing, which is, there's all kinds of modern technology now. You can find out any of your bodily functions. You can send it somewhere. Like they have this Cologuard thing. You poop in a box, and you send it in, and you don't have to go to the proctologist anymore, which is actually kind of a come down because I liked going. He did things I couldn't get my wife to do. So now I poop in a box, and it's over. So I spit in a thing, 23andMe, I spit in the thing, and the report came back. It says I am 69% Ashkenazi, 31%, who belched? 69% Ashkenazi, 31% Cameroonian West African. And this is very comforting to find out this information. How black, how Jewish, right? Am I right? Because people have been asking. So now I understand a lot of things I've been doing my entire life. I'm 31% Cameroonian, West African. Now I understand. Many mornings I would wake up, go in the backyard, and just start making a canoe. Had no idea why. The phone would ring. I'm answering. But the best one is that for my entire life, Jews are very subtle. Think about this. Black and Jewish, all my relatives were slaves at some point. Now, think about this. Now, I'm not going to be politically incorrect. I'm going to let you finish the idea in your own mind. Of the black slaves and the Jewish slaves, who do you think were the more annoying slaves? Think about it. The blacks, they were very, very compliant. They whipped, they picked cotton, they sang Broadway show. Oh, man, river. They were out there. They put in their best effort. Jews were, it's hot. You think he'd give us a decent sandal? So, it's important to know what you are. You're... All right. Oh, I'm hot. Jeez. the next season we're going to have air conditioning, am I right?
It's a non-profit station.
All right, so that means it needs to be hot.
But, you know, I mean, so you're hysterical. You really grew up, so what did you call yourself when you were growing up? They're telling you you're white. You have nobody telling you anything any different?
I didn't
What
want
did you
people to
think?
notice the way I looked. So I tried to entertain them so I could distract them. The way a magician has his hand over here and he's going into his pocket. Personality-wise, that's what I tried to do because I was, you know, it wasn't a good time to be either. It's never been a good time to be black or Jewish. I mean, think about it. Everything you hate, all in one person. You know, it's like a one-man racial quota. But you know, I get twice as many rejection letters from country clubs. No, Sammy Davis had to go through his whole career, you know, the black Jewish thing, and he sang his way out of it. He didn't have punchlines. See, I was born with punchlines, black and Jewish. I shoplift, but just wholesale. These are so easy. Black and Jewish. Jewish part doesn't work on Shabbos, black part tries not to work the other 6 days. You see what I mean? My first job. Every time I went to my father for money, he would give me a speech. How many people remember that one? Why do I look like I'm made of money? What do you think, we have a money tree? Why do you need $1? I'm planting trees in Israel, I told him. I was in Israel last year, 6-city tour. Didn't see one tree for 3.5 weeks. I was looking for my trees. First opportunity to get a job, my father said, you're 16 years old. He says, you're getting a job. So I said, where are we going? He says, I'll take you to A&S department store. Sure. You're a schwarzer. Tell them you want to push a broom. He says, you're half schwarzer. You're good at sweeping. So I walked into A&S and I said to the woman, I'm half schwarzer. Give me a broom. She said, oh my God, you're adorable. You must do other things. I said, of course I do, but for your intents and purposes, I need a broom. My father said I should sweep. She says, I only have a job in women's shoes. I said, I'll take it. And that's where she put me. And this is where I learned the difference between Jews and Gentiles. Gentile people are lovely. Whether you have what they want or not, they are delightful. They greet you, they say, good morning, you don't have what I need, thank you very much. And the reason why Gentiles are so much lovelier than us is because they go to church every week and confess. They go there, they sing some hymns, they have a little wine with the guy, then they go in a booth with a pedophile and have, Jews don't go to temple for 11 months and 28 days. And then they show up for 90 consecutive hours while starving. So she puts me in women's shoes. A woman starts yelling at me, and I know she's Jewish because she's yelling at me. I haven't met her yet. I see the 6 and I see the 8. I don't see the 7. And I have an affair. So I said, does your husband know? Now remember, I'm 16. Why don't I see the 7? I said, at this A&S, we only sell even-numbered sizes. What are my options? I said, well, you could get sweat socks and buy the 8. Or you could go to Queens. There's a Chinese doctor that'll bind your feet. And you could buy the 6. She says, I don't think that's funny. I said, it will be when I tell an audience in 40 years. Wait, it gets better. Now comes the part which is completely indigenous of Jewish life. Gentile people never ask you to go in the back. Jews always do. Jews live in a constant state of mistrust that you are holding out on them, that there's a secret stash of merchandise you don't want to sell them, that you have their size in a box hidden from view. So the woman says to me, can you check in the back? So I said, ma'am, there are no shoes in the back. There's only former shoe salesmen who've hung themselves in the back. Check in the back, and I want to talk to the manager of shoes. I said, okay, just to humor her, I said, I'm going in the back. I went in the back, counted to 20, I came out. I said, I'm so sorry. The manager of shoes is a transvestite, and he's wearing the last pair of 7s. I got fired. Wait a second. I got fired. And the worst part of it is I had to tell my father. I had to say, Dad, I got fired from my first job. He said, that's all right. Your Schwarzes wash dishes too. Go to a restaurant. So he takes me to a restaurant. Wait a second. This is the best, and then you can get back to whatever you don't know about me. He takes me in the middle of my hometown of Great Neck. I was born in Great Neck. Raised in Great Neck. Great Neck is a Yiddish term which translated means I'm better than you. He drops me off in town, and there's a restaurant in the middle of town called Millie's Place. Some people. So I walk in, and I said, I'd like to speak to Millie, please. She said, speaking. I said, perfect. Are you thoroughly and modern? Perfectly honest question. She says, you are adorable. What are you here for? I said, I'm part Schwarze. I want to wash dishes. She says, I wouldn't think of putting you in the kitchen. I want you on the floor. I said, right now? Give me some time to, a little foreplay. I'm 16. I don't even know what I can do. I need you to wait tables. I have a hard time holding on to waiters because I have a very, very big Jewish clientele, and they have a tendency to kill themselves after their shift. Waiting on Jews is no easy thing. I said, I'll take it. The Jewish part of me grew up with these people. I love them. The black part will kick their ass if it's a problem. She puts me on the floor. What I learned, Gentile people are lovely. They will eat anything you put in front of them, and they will not complain. You can poop in a dish, and they'll say, these truffles are delicious. Jews aren't happy unless they've sent something back 700 to 300 times, which almost ensures there will be mucus in the food, which is why so many Jews have bronchial problems. It's third-party mucus from food that gets sent back. Nothing is okay at the table. The first thing when they come in, the table is shickling. Can you get a matchbook? The butter's too hard, the butter's too soft, the ice is the wrong shape, my plates are the wrong color, the ceiling's too high, the floor, the vinyl sticks to my tuchus, the menu's sticky, the fork is flat, I need another kind of spoon. There's a draft. Do you feel that there's a draft? Every Jew feels a draft. You could put a Jew on death row in solitary confinement, and they will, within 15 minutes, call the warden. There's a draft in my cell. I'm not spending a life sentence with a draft. What happened to the black bread? You got black, we like the black bread. Black bread. There's no black bread? Why is there no black bread? This is why waiters kill themselves. So I'm there, I go to the table. There's a Jewish, now I learned this very quickly. Jewish couple. Under no circumstances should you ever talk to the man in the Jewish couple. He is the most marginalized and beleaguered person on earth. He is one nap away from never waking up. He has been told he's a schmuck and a moron over 3,000 times, and that's just on the way over. He doesn't know where to park. He doesn't know where to drive. He's never wearing the right pants, the right shirt. He doesn't walk. He's breathing too loud. His neck, his posture's no good. He doesn't know what he wants to eat, and if he does, he can't have that. Do not make eye contact with the Jewish man because he's in a hostage situation and he might try to get a message to you. Don't even look at him. So I come to the table. That's why you'll never see Jewish women with metal detectors at the beach. It's Jewish men looking for a gun so they can blow their head off at the beach because they can't do it at home because the cleaning girl was just here. So I asked the woman, I said, what would you folks like? She says, in the voice of the Aflac duck, she says, we would like 2 hot bowls of mushroom barley. Make sure it's hot like lava from an active volcano hot. Mushrooms on the side, barley on the side, carrots on the side, soup on the side. We eat out 7 nights a week. I don't cook, but I like reassembling restaurant food. I said, well, that would be okay, except for today is tomato with rice. We came for the mushroom barley. I said, well, you came on the wrong day. If you like, I can keep some saran wrap over you and your husband until Tuesday. and you can sit here until we serve it again. Well, we had our hearts set on mushroom barley. I said, well, you should probably make a cardiologist appointment and have him reset it for tomato with rice. She says, I don't think that's funny. I said, it will be when I tell an audience. Well, can you check in the back? Man, there's no mushroom barley in the back. Check in the back! And I want to talk to the soup manager. So I went in the back just to humor her. I counted to 20. I came out. I said, I can't. The soup manager is having her lunch, and I can't disturb her. She's enjoying the last bowl of mushroom barley soup. You want more? What else can I do? What else can I do? What an honor. Richie, oh, this is such an honor. See, it's so good. It's the season finale, you know?
Yeah, after this, there's not going to be any more show. Now, what I want you to know is, so Sarge is like the hottest thing in Florida and elsewhere. Sarge can go and work anywhere. But we were talking earlier, when I said we have things in common, you understand how I love my son, right? Sarge works in Florida a lot because he loves his family. And he lives in Florida, and he could stay near his family. And I'd like to show you a picture of Sarge and his son. And
my wife is Polish. I married a Pole dancer, and so he's actually a black Jewish Pole, and if he ends up turning out gay, he'll go to Harvard for free. I won't have to give any extra money to the badminton team. No, I live in Florida. I'm the first Jewish kid to ever move to Florida before his parents. And whenever my self-esteem is too high, I go visit my folks. We call it the House of Pain.
Get out of here.
What, am I
done? There's more, listen.
What?
Sarge is hysterical, he can work anywhere, but there is more to life than being funny. And he is that more, and buy his book and you'll see. And if you want to see his beautiful wife, put that up too. Because I love my wife, and you love your beautiful wife. This is not only a very funny man, and he's entertained us all, he's a mensch. Give him a big round of applause, please.
Want to know what programs will be on JBS in the coming week? Then sign up for the JBS Sunday email, which highlights future JBS programming and gives you the JBS weekly schedule, which you can print out and refer to throughout the week. And it's so simple to do. Just visit our new JBS website at jbstv.org and click on Newsletter Sign Up and fill in your name and email address. And every Sunday morning you'll receive an email with JBS programming information. JBS, expanding Jewish understanding, celebrating all things Jewish.
All right. My next guest is a star of film, television, and Broadway, a 6-time Emmy and Tony nominee and winner of 4 Drama Desk Awards, including Best Actress in Golda's Balcony. The longest-running one-woman play in Broadway history. She is the recipient of the Eleanor Roosevelt Humanities Award and the Israel Peace Medal. Here to sing a number from her new show, Tovah is Leona. Please welcome the incomparable Tovah Feldshuh.
Good evening, I'm Leona Helmsley. And my magic begins where all magic begins, New York City. Look at our town. Isn't it beautiful? It's gleaming. But everything that's beautiful about New York City today, you can draw a line right back to my husband, Harry Helmsley. You should have seen New York when I got here. New York was garbage on the sidewalks, potholes in the grimy streets, bankrupt cesspool. That was my New York. Graffiti on the buildings, three-card Monte you can't beat, pimps, hookers. That was my New York. How did I stay alive in this rat hole and win the race? How did I ever thrive in this glorious, wretched place? Hey there, New York. How you been, old friends? Did you miss me while I was gone? What's gone on up here? And say there, New York, where to begin, old friends? How about a memory or two? I was a hard-scrabble kid from Coney Island with a beautiful sister who was the apple of my mother's eye and a sty in mine. I had a father who died young and a brother who was a lump. Oh yeah, there was one other sister. She was fat. We don't talk about her. How did I get away from all this? Manhattan! Picture early 60s. Honey, long before hashtag Me Too. What a crapshoot. That was my New York. I was a woman in the workforce. Twice divorced and 42, barely getting by. Adrift in my New York. How did I get my name up there? Was it a stroke of luck? Lions I had to tame up there. Bastards I had to see there. New York, just how green I was. Thrilled and scared and lost in your haze. In the days back when, oh, me there in New York. What a scene it was back when I made my debut. When I was merely Leona Roberts, answering phone calls for a real estate company called Pease and Elliman, later to become Douglas Elliman. Within 1 year, they gave me a desk in the lobby of an apartment building. I sold every apartment. Then they gave me a second building, every apartment, and then a third. It was a unique time in real estate. Rentals were being converted to co-ops, and here is where I soared. It took a very special person to convince a tenant of a rent-controlled apartment that he needed to buy. But I did it. And by the night I met Harry Helmsley, he knew my name. Bless you, New York, you made your plan with me. You took some no one, you made her a queen. Queen of mean? Ridiculous. This new New York, it began with me. Each silhouette in the sky I could sell, they would buy. No glass ceiling too high, till I made you my a New York.
Tovah Feldshuh! Oh my goodness, God bless you. What a set of pipes, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness gracious. So you're too nice to play Leona Helmsley. You're such a nice person.
The only palace where the queen stands guard, you know. I have very much enjoyed finding out how she ticks. And whenever you play any character, you have to find the path in. You know, I'm not here to judge Leona Helmsley. I'm here to be her. So I have to find her triggers, and it's been a really interesting journey. Nothing like a little oppression to inspire a lot of ambition. She had all those advantages, like Evita. She had all those
It's
advantages.
fabulous. Well, you're fabulous in it, and you change your appearance to look like
I
Leona.
do. I do.
You know, which is...
This is my lips, and like Sarge, this is my face. I can still move my face.
Folks, I can't tell you how grateful I am that Tovah came in to see us. She is now rehearsing in Quogue or Sag Harbor.
We live in Quogue, but I'm rehearsing in Wainscott. We're about to do a world premiere of a new play called The Prompter, where a 90-year-old diva returns to Broadway after 45 years away and cannot remember her lines. So it's her relationship with her young homosexual prompter. And it's a very wonderful idea. I'm being directed by the man who directed me in Golda's Balcony. So when I was in my 50s, I played 80. Now I'm in my 60s, I'm playing 90.
You know, I saw you in Golda's Balcony. How many people saw Tovah in Golda's Balcony? Hey, Yaman, put up the photo of Tovah in Golda's Balcony. Wow. That is amazing.
Well, my mother, Lily, rated parts by the way I look. She said, Tovah, I rate parts by the way you look. Golda Meir is a 0.
No, but that's amazing. I mean, you really transform when you do the part.
It was a great honor.
It's an unbelievable honor.
Yeah.
Not only did you play a mother, you played a mother of a country.
That's right. I played a mother. And now they've made a film of my performance.
Great.
I was very, very pleased about it. Yeah.
That's so fabulous.
Lucky.
So, your name, Tovah Feldshuh, so Tovah is a pretty Jewish name.
Mm-hmm.
And do you find that you get more Jewish parts because of that name?
Well, my birth name's Terry Sue. Terry Sue Feldshuh. I was born in the early 50s after the war, and people were busy assimilating, not losing their Jewishness, but assimilating. There were a lot of Betty Sues, Terry Sue, Bonnie, and then I got into my life, and Terry was the name of Terry Culp, one of the boys in my class in Scarsdale, and Terry was the name of my godfather's collie. And then I was sent to France to study, and Terry, as you know, is a man's name. So I was, whenever I studied a foreign language, they could never use my name. It was either Teresa, Therese, and I fell in love with a boy who was not part of the tribe. And he said, yeah, right, I once had a boyfriend, a goy-friend, he thought I should be Tovah. There was a Gerard Ellison, right? Call me Tovah, not Tuna, or Tootsie, or Tofu, or Toga, or Torah. Anyway, I was in love with this boy, and he said, what kind of a name is Terry Sue for you? And he said, what else were you called? And I said, I was called Tovah in Hebrew school, because I was at Temple Israel Center in White Plains with very few other Jewish kids from Scarsdale.
Wow.
It was like we were bussed in. Myself, the Milstein family, I mean, I can name them on one hand, about the 5 families who went to the conservative shul, because most people were busy going to Brooks Brothers and to the Reform shul or Judaism Light, and which is fine, which is great. So I was called Tovah in Hebrew school. I was named after a Tovah, and I took on my Hebrew name. And my mother said, we didn't come to this country for you to call yourself Tovah. Sydney, get over here. She wants me to go Tovah. The last name is bad enough. Nobody's going to be able to pronounce this thing. And as a result, it would change the entire landscape of my artistic life because of my perceived value. Look, everybody's life is about themselves. So, Juliet says, what's in a name? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. It's not fully true. There's a lot in a name. A moniker is how we identify people, and our lives are about ourselves. So anyway, with the name Tovah Feldshuh, the perceived value of my gifts or talent or whatever, abilities, changed. And my perceived value in New York has to be European, has to be Orthodox, and is an expert in Judaism. Meanwhile, I was a cheerleader at Quaker Ridge School in Scarsdale. But I was a very diligent student, and I rode the horse in the direction it was galloping. And when I got to the Guthrie, I started my work in Minneapolis at the Guthrie Theater, and Tovah is a Danish name, so they thought I was a local kid. It's a Tovah Feldshuh, all the Swedes and the Danes. So that was.
You were still using it in high school. Put up Tovah's high school photograph. Look at this cutie pie.
Yeah.
Terry Sue Feldshuh.
That's right. That's right.
You know what's so funny about that? I took the opposite road. So when I was a kid, I was called Yankee, Yankele.
Wow.
And my real name was Jacob, but I wanted to be anything but that. So I called myself Jack for many, many years until I finally got comfortable with being who I was. And then I became Jacob, and then people called me Jake. So we took like the total opposite road. But nonetheless, even with that name, you've done so many other things in your career. So was there a period where it was mostly Jewish and then it sort of changed over?
Well, I think you have to create your own life. I think we wake up in the morning and we make choices and try to stay alive, and we go to sleep, God willing, 95, or in my case of my mother, 103 years later, that you create your life. And I wanted to be a great actress. So when Alan Shane came in after Yentl, and I had my first starring role on Broadway, and Alan Shane offered me Three's Company, and without audition, without anything, and I said, I can't do it. He was the head of Warner Brothers. And he said, are you crazy? And I said, no, I really don't know how to act. He said, you were just Yentl for a whole season. I said, it was a coincidence. I have a lot of energy and a lot of desire to be good at my work, but I don't know what I'm doing yet. And I turned it down. And as a result, I went to Stratford, and I did As You Like It with Eileen Atkins. I did 5 plays for Jack O'Brien at the Old Globe. I played Juliet, Isabella. By the time I was 28, 29, I knew that I had my chops, that nobody could take it from me. And the one thing that's great about Tovah Feldshuh, you get the Jewish roles came on a conveyor belt toward me, and I knew to handpick the good ones, and I've been very lucky. But also, like Morris Karnofsky, the Tovah Feldshuh has a weight, so I will be offered King Lear later in my career. Do you know? I get serious offers, Chekhov, Shakespeare, the stuff that has weight to it. It's drama. And what I really wanted to be was a musical comedy star, but my career took a turn, so I'm now going to do that now. I'm going to do that now.
It's fabulous, but you've done so many things. I remember, so we know each other. You were kind enough to give me a quote for my book.
For sure.
Which you
wonderful
should
book.
buy. And I remember, so my son and I and my wife were watching The Walking Dead. And then you showed up and I said, that's Tovah.
Yeah.
Put up a picture of Tovah in The Walking Dead. Do you remember Tovah in The Walking Dead? Yeah. How many people watched The Walking Dead? And then it turned into this. Oh.
Very sad.
But you were fabulous in that.
I loved it. I played the head of Alexandria. I've lately, in the last 10 years, probably because of the Prime Minister, I've been the head of the Mossad and Covert Affairs, the President of the United States for Salvation on CBS, and Deanna Monroe, the head of Alexandria. And it's a pleasure to do it. And now I'm about to do a play also with Ed Asner called The Soap Myth, where I play the head of a famous Holocaust museum, which would be either New York or Washington. And then in the second act, I play a Holocaust denier, British Holocaust denier, a denier. And when they offered me the role, I grabbed it because I thought if anybody could play this role without getting killed or spit upon, it could be I, subjective case. It could be I.
Good for you, by the way.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Sydney.
You know, I was once doing a Jew Grows in Brooklyn, and I said something incorrectly. And my English teacher, my junior high school English teacher, was in the audience, and she yelled out and corrected me. So God bless her.
Was she Jewish? Natch.
Well, I think doing a role like The Soap Myth, those years that you decided not to take Three's Company, prepared you to do that kind
That's
of
right.
work.
And then I'm dying to do good television, and I've done a lot of it. I played the Russian ballet master in Flesh and Bone, and I had to go to a tutor at ABT who really put me through my paces, and of course, I was 10 pounds lighter. And then I did the trapeze act in Pippin.
That's right.
That's right. Hey,
oh my
it's time
God,
to start
that's
living.
right.
Full out. You put an old bird on a trapeze singing a big hit upside down, you're going to stop the show.
Now you grew up pretty Jewish, right?
I grew up with people who were happy who they were. My parents were married 63 years, my grandparents were married 63 years, and I'm married almost 43 years. And
Whoa.
My brilliant and remarkable husband and elegant husband is in the back of the house.
So because we're friends, when I was asking Tovah to be on the show, she said, well, I'm in Borneo. And she sent me this photograph of her and Andy in Borneo. Look at that. Who goes to Borneo for your 42nd wedding anniversary, right?
Well, that's right.
And your birthdays.
Yeah, yeah.
You spoke about your children, and you gave me an opportunity to show a picture of Brandon and Amanda, and you, and look at that. You know,
Harvard and MIT, ladies and gentlemen.
the reason I like to do that is because, as we were speaking before, so Sarge was so funny, but what I like about Sarge is he's a mensch and he loves his family, right? So people can get lost in show business. You got to be careful. You start getting into the hype and then you forget who you are. You forget what's important, right? So you have a family.
It depends where you come from. I think people who love their children, God bless those who've had a bad start and can create a different text for themselves. But in my family, if you couldn't bring up your children, we'd go like this. You were a flea, you were nothing. If you have a human life that you have decided to form and you can't be responsible to nurture that life, in our family, you were nothing. So I had that luck. It wasn't false heroism for me. The children truly came first. One of the great blessings of children is they get you off your own narcissism. Unless you're totally crazy, you move to the right and the child becomes centered, and then the child becomes a spoiled brat. But you're really developing. No. But seriously, I loved being a mother, and people would come up to me in the street and they go, "How are you? What's happened to you?" I said, "What do you think having a successful marriage and bringing up 2 children look like? It doesn't look like I'm on Broadway in unlimited runs. On Broadway in unlimited runs, people don't learn to read. So you had to modulate it, and I did limited runs. I never went on national tour once I was married, and you make your choices, and it worked out for our children. They're both married now, and Amanda has just had a son, and she was a physics major at MIT, that kid.
Wow.
God bless her. Yeah.
Lisa and I had a similar agreement. When I would go on the road, it would be 10 days at a time.
Yeah.
And then either they would come see me or I would come home. So how do you think that being Jewish affects that family idea, that parenting idea? Now, of course, there's lots of good parents that aren't Jewish, but how do you think that informs your sense of parenting and family?
I think that the Jewish people in general have the great privilege of the epigenetic fear of extinction. We have been threatened enough for various reasons, some understandable, some completely incomprehensible. And when you have the fear of extinction, you don't live life, you grab at life, you take it. Whether it is the Jewish people or whether it's the South Koreans or whether it's our beloved Israelis. When you have death here, right here, you behave differently. And we have that great privilege. And that fear combusts a great deal of accomplishment. It is not a coincidence that the most copyrights in the world come from Israel. The most Nobel laureates at this point come from Israel. It's not just that they strive to excel, they're desperate to live and to live in their tikkun, to live in their higher purpose. So we have that privilege, and I've seen it in other ethnic groups. I absolutely saw it in the Korean kids that we studied with when the kids studied Suzuki piano and Suzuki violin. And why just be good? Why not try to be great? My father's, yeah, it's true. My father said, and then it went into a character that I do, Grandma Ada. She would say, reach for the stars. If you reach for the stars, you may land on the roof. If you reach for the roof, you never get off the ground. So there you are. Yeah. Thank you.
It's interesting that you mentioned the South Koreans. Do you know that they teach Talmud in high school in Korea?
I didn't know, but I wouldn't doubt it. My mother said, Regarding the Koreans, what happens when a superiority complex isn't a complex? It's just superior. She used to love them. The kids were fiddling their way into America.
Well, the system, the school system decided they need to figure out why Jews are so successful. And they thought that studying Talmud and the back and forth was the key to it. And they put it in the high schools in South Korea. Right. It's amazing.
Oppression is not a pleasant thing, but it is a useful thing. It's a very useful thing to hone your excellence. And the fear of failure is a very useful thing to hone your excellence. The mastery starts with one step, and that step is to know you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. In other words, if you ask me to sing opera, I know I don't know. I don't know how to do that. So I would study opera, I'd go to Renee Fleming, ask for a favor, you know, can I pay you for some lessons? But you have to know you don't know. And mastery is around the corner. One must never lose hope. I have 20 costume changes in the play I'm about to do, and I am bleary from trying to combine the text with physical action. I can do the text well, I can do the changes well. When I start doing the text and the changes, it's lucky I don't end up with my underpants on my head. I mean, it's just like, what? Where am I? What am I doing?
But you know your brain will put that together.
Yes.
There's going to come a time where when you say that word, your body would automatically put that jacket on, right?
Right.
I love what you said. When my son was young, you know, life is it's the same path from not knowing to knowing. When my son was young, we were putting together, and my son's in the audience, and he performed with me today.
Well done. Well done.
He's great. Dovy is here. But we had to put together 6 of the same dressers for my wife in my bedroom. And it was IKEA stuff, and we were putting it together. And I said, Dovy, here's what's going to happen. We're going to start on the first dresser. We're not going to know anything. We're going to take the directions, and we're going to make all kinds of mistakes, and it's going to take us 3 hours. By the time we get to the 6th dresser, there will be no instructions. We'll do it in 20 minutes. And that's the same journey in life. You start from not knowing, making mistakes, learning, and then you get to...
And practice, and practice. Accurate, excellent, effortless. That's the men and the boys in my business, the effortlessness.
Do you have a favorite Jewish saying or a word or anything?
From my mother-in-law, sei gesund.
Sei gesund.
Go in health, go in health. And when I work with Jerry Zaks, my beloved friend who directs me from time to time, when things would not go so well, he would joke, he'd go, oya brach, oya brach.
I say oya brach. I have my son's non-Jewish friends saying oya brach.
I know.
Oya brach. I remember, so my favorite is probably Fakakta, but you just reminded me of something. When Sid Caesar was much older, I had the opportunity to be at his bedside a few times when we were performing in Los Angeles. And once in a while, he got a little confused. This had happened to my father. My father had Parkinson's, but he had his wits about him. Once in a while, he would get a little confused. And he would always say the same thing. He said, it's a Michigas.
Right.
And it would be all fine.
Yeah.
And then I got Sid to start saying, you know, it's a Michigas. I say it all the time.
Right.
So listen, I want to...
I just have one other insight. From the Talmudic tradition, from the idea that we are taught to think and live in the question, from all that, as that assimilates into society, it becomes the complainer. Because the complainer is seeing, it's a little this, it's a little that, well, maybe it's not this, maybe it's that. So that's where all that critical intelligence sometimes whittles down to the Jewish woman driving Sarge over the brink, you know. Just interesting. Also, I know that my mother, part of my mother's mothering, and she was born April the 18th, 1911, was to fix me, you know? When I would get a little heavy, she'd go, you're fat. And when I get thin, she'd go, you look bulimic. You know, it was never, it's like Jackie Mason, the Jewish holidays are never on time, though. He's early, the late, the late, the early, the late. So it was very, very funny. She would say, what did she say? You're in Chanel, I'm still at Loman's. What's wrong with this picture? You know, it's very funny.
Your parents are still with us?
No, they're gone. No, my mother lived till over 103, my father till just about 86. So it was a good run.
Oh, God bless you.
And I have a marvelous older brother, Dr. David Feldshuh, who has written a play called Dancing with Giants, and I'm about to do my first male role. I'm going to play, I'm going to play a guy. I'm going to play Joe Yussel the Muscle Jacobs, the actual boxing manager of Max Schmeling, the German heavyweight champion of the world. And it's our relationship. And we call David Feldshuh Dovy. Call him Dove. That's what we call him.
That's fabulous.
Isn't that
It's a great name, Dovy.
It's a great name.
I'm glad you mentioned your brother's play. I knew you were going to be in it.
I am. I'm
glad
very
we got to
excited
that.
about it.
You should. I've heard
His last
unbelievable
play, this is in
things.
honor of Sarge, his last play was Miss Evers' Boys, which was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize and won 7 Emmys, and it was an African-American piece about the Tuskegee experiments.
You have a lot of nachas in your life.
A lot of nachas and a lot of, I hope so, a lot of vision and a lot of energy. You know, in the time of your life, live. In the time of your life, live. And the quickest path to happiness is gratitude. And if you don't know that, teach yourself that and do the best you can.
God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will help me, I would like to ask Tovah to sing another song for you. With her musical director, James Bosse. James Bosse on the piano. One more time for the fabulous Tovah Feldshuh.
When I was the mommy of young children, I realized that the only way to keep my career going in an appropriate way was to do one-woman shows. This song I ended my act, my concerts with for many, many years. I had the honor of playing Peter Pan on the heels of another Broadway musical. I did Peter Pan in Philadelphia, Boston, and at the Muni Opera. But I truly believe in this song, and I offer it to you now. Jimmy? I have a place where dreams are born, and time is never planned. It's not on any chart, you must find it with your heart. Never, never land. Now it might be miles beyond the moon, or right here where you stand. Just keep an open mind, and then suddenly you'll find never, never land. Oh, you'll have a treasure if you stay there, more precious far than gold. 'Cause once you have found your way there, you can never, ever grow old. So come with me where dreams are born, and time is never planned. Just think of lovely things, and your heart will fly on wings forever in never, never land. As George Bernard Shaw wrote, I am of the opinion that our lives belong to the community, and that as long as we shall live, it is our privilege to do for it whatever we can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. Life is no brief candle to me. It's a splendid torch that I've got hold of for just one moment in time, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. So come with me where dreams are born and time is never planned. Just think of lovely things and your hearts will fly on wings forever in never, never land.
Thank you.
Tovah Feldshuh!
Thank you, love.
Okay, we're back. The Catskill Mountains in its heyday was a magical place. Just 100 miles from New York City is where Jewish comedy became American comedy. A summertime fresh air haven for Jewish families, including many survivor families like my own. The Catskills Hall of Fame honors the men and women who gave us so much. Entertainers, musicians, athletes who helped us thrive, who helped to shape American culture and left a legacy for us all. Tonight, we are very pleased to honor the many hotel owners, generations of families who through their hard work and dedicated long hours helped to create this unique and extraordinary time and place in American history. Hotels like the Concord, the Pines, the Nevele, Kutcher's Country Club, the Raleigh, the Granite, Tamarack, so many, 550 hotels during its heyday, not counting the thousands of bungalow colonies and rooming houses. But undoubtedly, the grand jewel of the Catskills, home to the world's most famous celebrities and politicians, was Grossinger's Resort in Grossinger, New York. Tonight, I am so honored to have with us, to represent all of the hotel-owning families, the woman who ran Grossinger's for decades, daughter of the iconic founder, Jenny Grossinger. Please welcome Elaine Grossinger Etess.
I've been fortunate enough to have been honored by a lot of things, but nothing as meaningful as tonight, representing some of the hardest working people who created, as you said, an environment for doctors, lawyers, for comedy. And it was the proving ground and it was the trademark of what the hotel business grew up to be. And I was very active with the American Hotel Association. I was the first woman to hold the presidency. And as I went through the country, and I'll never forget, Hyatt was really doing a big promotion. They're having a day camp for their children. We had a day camp when I was 4 years old. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here and to just cherish the moments.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you for coming all the way from Florida.
Yes, indeed. I forced myself.
Oh, no,
I wouldn't say no to you for anything.
Oh, God, I love you so. And you're just so representative of, I mean, you as a human being, but what you represent is amazing, because Grossinger's was it. Look, I actually worked at Grossinger's, I don't know if you know, with Bobby Johnson in the lounge. Bobby Johnson was a trumpet player. I originally worked with him at the Nevele, and then we worked at Grossinger's during the winter. It was just, there was nothing like it.
And the Pink Elephant.
Yes.
And the Pink Elephant Lounge.
Unbelievable. And Grossinger's started, like many of these places, as sort of a little, like a rooming house. You have the original Grossinger's Hotel photograph? That's the original, right?
I love the cars.
Yeah, fabulous. Unbelievable. But what people don't know about the Catskills, you know about the comedians, you know about the entertainers. I don't know if you know how important this all was. So your mom, they did the show This Is Your Life,
yes.
Right? Do you remember the show This Is Your Life? It's like in the 50s with Ralph Edwards.
Exactly.
And who came to introduce your mother?
Well, Eddie Cantor had been a guest at the hotel, and that's another story. And my mother became very, very friendly with them, and she was staying at their home in California. And Eddie Cantor said to her, you know, I'm going to take you to the studio tonight to see the new show I'm going to do. And of course, they went to the stage door and knocked at the door. And Ralph Edwards opens the door and he says, Jenny Grossinger, this is your life. And one of the people who was there was someone who I was terribly, terribly fond of, was Jackie Robinson. And Jackie became a guest at the hotel for many times. And he shared with me how important the invitation was that our family extended to his family. to come anytime they want to. There was no discrimination. This was a time when we all know Jackie couldn't play ball for the Dodgers, but he couldn't dine with the other teammates, and they couldn't stay in the hotels because there was so much discrimination. And he just loved Grossingers. And Rachel has dedicated a chapter in a book that she did to Grossingers. And my mother said to him, "I'm so honored to have you here." And he said, "No, Jenny, the honor is all mine."
It's amazing. It's amazing. Come on, do we have a photo of that? That's you.
And my father.
Your father and Jackie and Rachel.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, we dealt with that a little. We inducted Sammy Davis Jr. into the Catskills Hall of Fame as an entertainer. And the stories of what it was like in Vegas, but you know, for him, but what it was like in the Catskills was entirely different. Yeah. But I think people know a bit about the athletes and a bit about the entertainers. I don't know if people understand how important it was. So the most famous politicians in the world went to Grossinger, right? Eleanor Roosevelt. Went to Grossingers. Put up, right? That's Eleanor Roosevelt and your mother.
She came to speak at a United Nations dinner at the hotel. And my mother decided she'd have a private cocktail party at her home prior to the dinner. Well, she had a quandary. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Do you serve tea or do you serve cocktails? And my mother's going to make everybody happy. They had tea and they had cocktails. And she served the little mini Danish, and then she had the pickled herring and pickled lox and other goodies. And she invited a few ladies like Mrs. Irving Berlin and Mrs. Leonard Lyons and that ilk. And Mrs. Roosevelt had the pickled herring and went absolutely crazy. And she said to my mother, "Oh, Jenny, I'd love to buy some." My mother said, "No, you can't buy it, but we'll be glad to give you some to take home." So my mother said, "When are you leaving tomorrow?" She says, "Tomorrow, but I'm not going back to Hyde Park. I'm going to Tanglewood to narrate Peter and the Wolf." So my mother said to her, "Don't worry, when you get back to Hyde Park, you'll let us know." And she did, and we took care of her several other times. She was most gracious, and I think it's kind of wonderful that an immigrant Jewish family provided hors d'oeuvres for the former First Lady of the United States.
And she wasn't the only First Lady, right? Didn't Mamie Eisenhower also come? I'm pretty sure we have a photo of that. That's you.
It was a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, that's great. That's your brother, right?
My brother. And then when I left the hotel for Saturday night, I told our general manager I was not coming into work the next day. I had things I had to do. I said, "And don't call me." Well, I'm busy dragging all the things that I have to do, and the phone rings, and I said, "Hello?" He said to me, Howie Byrne was our manager then, "Please, you've got to come to the hotel right now because Mamie Eisenhower is here." And I said to him, "Look, I'm so sick and tired of all of you guys, my brother, everybody putting me on. Now, I told you I don't want to hear from you." He said to Elaine, "I swear to you, she's here. Your brother is on his way." So I thought, well, maybe he really is serious. I get there, and they're already sitting in the dining room, and we had a lovely lunch. And during the conversation, I said to her, "Mrs. Eisenhower, how come you stopped here to have lunch?" She said, "Well, we were going up this big mountain, and we had a big billboard that said, 'Grossingers has everything.'" And she says, "I had told my Secret Service people I had heard about it, I had read about it, and I was going to experience it."
Unbelievable!
And so we said to her, I asked her where she was going, and she was on her way to Seneca Falls to the Eisenhower College commencement. So I said, "You know, if you'd like to rest, we put a room away." "Oh, no, I want to shop." So I took her to the various shops at the hotel, and then I said, "Well, wouldn't you like to go rest?" She said, "Yes." So I went upstairs with her, and I said to her, "Well, this is the extension of my office, and I'll be there." She says, "Oh, no, please sit here and talk to me." And I sat and talked to her the way I would with my daughter or a friend or anything. And when she left, a couple of weeks later, my brother and I each got beautiful thank you notes from her.
It's
And when my
amazing.
mother passed, she wrote us a lovely letter of condolence.
My God.
And that's a wonderful experience. I mean, to think that you sat at a table with a former First Lady and she wanted to go shopping.
And when I was in the Catskills, I would hear the stories a little before me, but about the big entertainers. So Eddie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, weren't they married at the hotel?
Not only
And
were
we
they
have
married,
a photograph, right? Of
not,
Eddie and
not
that's
only
them
were
with
they
your mom, right?
married at the hotel, they were married in my home.
Oh my God.
And that was a story unto itself.
Now that didn't quite work out, right?
No, it didn't.
Because I'll tell you why it didn't work out. Put that next photo up. And then he brought Elizabeth Taylor to the hotel.
Shortly thereafter, when their marriage broke up, he brought Elizabeth Taylor up. And she was lovely too. And she dedicated the indoor pool for us, and gracious and just as nice as can be. And a couple of weeks later, my husband and I went to the Waldorf to hear Eddie perform. And we had made our reservations for the table, not under the name Grossinger, under Etess. And we got a lovely table ringside. And the captain came over and handed my husband a note and said, "Dear Dr. and Mrs. Etess, please join us at Suite XYZ for a drink after the show. Elizabeth."
Oh, wow. And now you're sitting here talking to me. Can I touch you?
Yes, you can touch
And I remember we were talking. So we had inducted Stephen Eady into the Catskills Hall of Fame. But what people don't realize, when you told me, Stephen Eady had their honeymoon in your house.
In my house.
Put that picture up of Stephen Eady at Grossinger's. It's great. Great.
And that was well, this wasn't taken when they were on their honeymoon, but this was taken prior. Steve was in the Army, and Edie was performing, and we sent our car and driver to pick him up, and unbeknownst to her, he came up and came out on the stage when she was performing.
Oh my God.
But they had, little money then. They were working for, was it Steve Allen?
Yes, they were both background singers for Steve
Allen. And they were
Allen.
just making meager monies, and they really didn't have money for a honeymoon. So my darling daughter here gave up her room
Oh yeah.
so they could spend their honeymoon. And then I had a friend who had a dude ranch in Downsville, New York, and I got them a 2-day comp at the Roundup Ranch. And we still have maintained our friendship with Steve. In fact, I saw him when he was in Florida the winter before last. And they were always wonderful, besides being great performers, but they were just good people.
Yeah, this is so amazing to me. I have one very favorite photograph because it sort of ties it all together. So Yaman, put up this last photograph, please. So that's you
my
with
friend Joel Gray.
a very young Joel Gray.
And Joel is a very, very good friend. I still speak to him and hear from him after all these many years. He started out on Lou Goldstein's staff.
Yes, Lou Goldstein invented
Simon Says.
Simon Says.
And so we still keep in touch. And of course, we all know what the hit movie was, Dirty Dancing. And Jennifer had just finished filming it, and David and I had met Joel in Miami. We went to see Cabaret, and we went out afterwards. And he's telling us that Jennifer just finished this wonderful picture that's going to be a big hit, and that she's going to be a big star. And he was talking about Dirty Dancing.
And that brings it full circle, doesn't it?
Yes, and now we have the Catskills. And maybe the structures have gone, but you know what? We're all sitting here, and those of you who were fortunate enough to come to the Catskills, hopefully to Grossinger's, but as long as you went to a Catskill hotel, it was okay. Poconos, no, but Catskills, and but we have our memories, and we have a lot to be thankful for, because it was a proving ground and the place for so many, many people, whether they were waiters and became judges of the Supreme Court or entertainers, but it gave them a place to work, to earn money, to provide happiness for guests, and to give people like yourself a place to hone your talents.
To learn. And I can't tell you what an honor it is to have someone like you here, not only for the people who are watching that love the Catskills and have it in their heart, but for the young people to understand what it really was like.
It was just so different from anything else. It was a culture unto itself. And those days will, I just sound like an old verklempt. But those days will never, ever be brought back again.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me thank Elaine Grossinger Etess.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. You know, we're often asked where people can get my books or CDs. We've created a very easy way to get them. Simply go to jakeehrenreich.com. Both my CDs are there, A Treasure of Jewish Christmas Songs, which is a tribute to the Jewish songwriters, and Yiddish Unplugged, a compilation of my dad's favorite Yiddish folk songs. Both make excellent gifts. Of course, my first book, A Jew Grows in Brooklyn, is available, which Publishers Weekly called Entertaining Throughout. And there are more items too. So it's very simple. Just go to jakeehrenreich.com, wind up with a book to read, some music to enjoy, or a unique gift for a loved one. Stay well, my friends. I look forward to seeing you. And now back to the show. That's our show. I'd like to thank our guests, Tovah Feldshuh, Sarge, Elaine Grossinger Etess, Dovy, and we have very special cast guests that are on stage with us from this season. Shelley Fisher is here. Ron is here. Mike Fine is here somewhere. All our great supporters, I want to thank our directors, Lisa Ehrenreich and Sloan Copeland. Video, John Furshpan. Senior sound editors, Isaiah Ablin and Greg Riccardi. Tristan Berg, Mark Freundlich, Peter Martin here at the Triad. And last but not least, JBS President and Senior Executive Director, Mark Fowler.